Alrighty, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this week's Marketcast call. As usual, if you wouldn't mind just chiming in, let me know how your day is going. You can hear me and all those wonderful things. And good morning to you as well. Hey, thanks, Jake. By the way, how'd you know? I saw your email this morning. How'd you know it's my birthday yesterday? You just have a good memory? Or has it just been that long? Yeah, it's been a while. Man, how long, gosh, how long have you and I been working together? Same thing with Jeff or Carol. A lot of long-term names on here today. Gonna go with somewhere around forever. Jake, I feel like you've been here for like a decade. Feels that way. Jeff, I know it's got to be a long time for you. Lloyd, Lloyd, haven't you been here since the beginning? Like when I very first started doing Marketcast calls, or am I wrong about that? I want to say Lloyd goes back. Gosh, I mean that was way back when we were doing. Am I right, Lloyd? It's been a long time. Gosh, well, I guess it's been so long now. I mean, I've been doing this now for 18 years. So Greg, yeah, Greg, gosh, 8 to 10 years. Hmm. And yeah, thank you. Yeah, I didn't do anything special for my birthday. It's been well, I mean, I guess everybody will find out this week anyway. It's going to be a changing year. um, and I guess somewhat of a birthday present because, um, yeah, I don't know, I guess I don't know even know how to say it, but I'll be in kind of going out on my own. We finalized um, that agreement last week, and I'll be talking about in more detail in the actual calls and everything. And we're going to send out an alert or an email to everybody, all my members. But nothing will change for you guys anytime soon, so you don't have to worry about anything. And like I said, I'll kind of go into more detail. But JJ and I hash things out. Just like the details of as I'm sure all of you know, I have my own coaching business. Um, but it's been somewhat limited what I can or cannot do due to my relationship with T3. So I was fortunate enough to meet somebody that kind of wanted to invest in me going it alone. So, so somewhat of a birthday present. But we'll talk a lot more about that, throughout the week and kind of give every details. But again, for those of you in all my services, it's not going to change anything. I'll still be working with T3 for the next year. Um, but that'll be in conjunction with growing my own uh, business and such. Um, so yeah. So this past weekend, I decided to for my birthday, I decided to just kind of exhale. You know, I went out and played around disc golf by myself, threw a couple beers in the backpack, and just thought about the year. Where are we going, Greg? Oh, you mean as far as my services and stuff? Is that what you mean? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll still be running all my services, but I'll be taking them on my own to my business. With my partner has a marketing team. He has a tech team, and so yeah, everybody will have that opportunity, just like everybody will have the opportunity if they want to stay with T3. But I will be staying with T3 to fulfill their obligations to all of you, one way or the other. So, oh, nice, Barry. Yeah, T3. Yeah, so we were throwing together. Hey, it was fun. I don't really throw in a serious round by myself. I don't think, but yeah, everybody will be invited to join, and it's going to be a win for all those members that do decide to, because it's though what I'm sure everybody's familiar with my lifetime trading system. That's basically um, so everybody will get access to that on top of their service. So you'll get more for less, so to speak. But for anybody that wants to stay to T3, obviously I would understand. I think they're going to do like they'll offer like services in kind or something. But super excited. The partner, I met him last year. He's got some pretty deep pockets, and really thought that he could take my mentoring and my services and everything to a much higher level if I was on my own. And he's already done it for himself, and so it was kind of made me an offer that I couldn't refuse, so to speak. So yeah, so my services will continue. I'll have to change the names, because those are T3's property. That's their IP. So um, but yeah, otherwise it'll be seamless. It really will be like seamless for the members. As I said, nothing's going to change here for the next year, so everything will be the same. Well, I don't want to get too much into it. I'll talk about it on the calls, on my individual calls. Um, so and get more detail. But you don't have to worry about nothing. I mean, we'll be on the VTFs all year, um, but it'll be very, very seamless. I don't know how I don't know how many of you remember how rocky it was switching from AMTG to Tiffin, then from Tiffin over to T3. But this will be very seamless. It'll be much, much easier due to the platform that I use, and the fact that I was willing to give it a year to make it easy for everybody. So that way, I can fulfill T3's obligations to all of you, because they want everybody to be happy, and so do I. But we'll talk more about it on Prime Time and Gambit and Smart Trade today. But all right, so I think everybody's here that's here, and let's talk markets. Down once again. I don't know that we're too terribly surprised. I know a couple of you that are already in my coaching program already. I can see on the call you read the newsletter, right? And thought was lower. I think that's kind of what we'd expect after the Friday move there. Um, I think it was I don't remember what I was looking at, something, but yeah, after that move and the rollover. So let's take a step back, and let's recap kind of what got us here. Remember, we're not really in any way, shape, or form surprised at this decline, based on, this is probably the most common chart I show year in and year out, at least when it's pertinent, right? And we now have 6 of these momentum divergences. Okay, the previous 5, the smallest drop was I think 16 or 18% or what it was. This one back here, right? So all 5 of them led to corrections, and you had yourself a 20 percenter here, whatever this was, 16 or 18. I think it was more if it was the Nasdaq, and your whatever your 48 and your 54 percenters there. So what we know is when we've had this type of move, this type of signal or environment, if you will, that in the last 30 years, market's been 5-0 with corrections. It's how we were able to So obviously how we were able to call this bear market. We thought it'd be bigger. I mean, I thought it would be a bigger move just based on kind of this, and it was actually, you know, relatively mild. You know, like 25% or something on the S&P. I think 30 or whatever on the Nasdaq. Thought it'd be bigger, but hey, it wasn't. Instead, we did this. You know, um, and so putting in another one, our view is and has been that, hey, odds seem pretty good. We're going to get a correction here. And I think the S&P closed within that correction, like just for a day. I think it hit like what 10.5% right here. So just barely, but then came out of it. Um, but as we stated last week, the rally, we thought a pretty good rally had started here. Apparently not that good, but we thought a good rally may have started here. And but regardless of that rally, um, as we covered last week, nothing has happened, and no rally in this area or anything changes that. We still think this low is not, the low is not an A low, but not the low. We're going to need to see something more than just a rally, right? Which I would hope no one would think just because we rally for a day or two, that means the sell off is over. Could be, but I don't know if that necessarily gives us a good reason to think it. So rolling back over, I thought we had some more juice in us. I thought maybe we try to get up here. But again, from the newsletter from my mentoring program, we said, hey, target one will be somewhere around 5,800, somewhere in that general area. And we got close, I guess, what, 57.87 right here. And then we came back down. We would have thought we hold this, right? So if the rally's in place, we consolidate, pull back, take another leg, pull back, bounce, and then go up. We held that area for a day, and then obviously this gem came on Friday. So it implies lower. And again, if we trust this trend line here, as you can see the light green, then one would think that basically where we're going to open today is where we might try to hold. So 55, 35, whatever you want to call it, right? So believe it or not, the rally could still be intact, right? We come back, hit this, and then back up we go. Certainly is as possible as anything else. But I want to show that big picture first. So um, so everyone can kind of, I suppose, not be surprised if this doesn't hold, because based on the previous five occurrences, um, we'd expect something bigger than what we've seen so far. So we're going to open lower. Obviously, we're down 1.25%. Nothing major, but been pretty flat all night long after the initial couple hours and just kind of stuck. But yeah, so path's still down. I would think we're going to hit new lows. I mean, Nasdaq's pretty darn close to it. Nasdaq will probably hit a new low today, dropping a percent. You're going to drop to dangerously close to 19. So the Nasdaq will hit new lows. I think at the low, the Nasdaq's only like what 6 or 7% away from bear market territory. So Russell's already, or no, Russell's close to bear market. But anyway, so expect lower start the day, then we kind of go from there. Again, focusing on just the S&P, I'd be watching. Again, that trend line's a little shorter term, but certainly seems to be a valid line there. And let's also not forget, going back to that bigger picture, the breakout of this channel, right? That was our price confirmation, and it implies a lower drop than this. So combine the two, and this is why last week we weren't willing to say, sell-offs over or anything, while also conceding, in all fairness, it obviously could be, but just didn't seem to be probable. So we'll see what today brings us. It certainly looks like we can expect to get here right out of the gate. And if we take that out, and specifically the 5,500, then we got to start looking at 5,400. If we are extending lower, I think 5,400 is your first main target. Start going below that, I don't know. I mean, I kept this here. I don't know how valid or important this is. It was only this period of time. Really didn't seem to matter all that much through here. But I would think if you're taking out 5,400, this isn't going. Someone's going to get rid of it. If it holds up, it holds up. But I'm gonna get it out of the way. And so I would think if you take out 5,400, now you start talking about the big bull market trend line, which is down here, right? So you go here to there. So I would think you start looking at that. Um, I don't really focus on the Dow too much, but um, Dow's got a very similar. I mean, Dow's, if you look at the corresponding trend line, the Dow has tested this thing multiple times. And so if this breaks, you got to be thinking much lower than 40K, but that is a pretty important level, obviously. So, but I thought this, kind of try to find, the S&P tested that trend line, the same corresponding line 3 times, but the Dow's tested it, once, twice, three, four, five, six. So we know that this, in theory, is more important than the S&P as far as the validity of it, right? More times we test it, the more important it is. The more important it is if it breaks. So I think for that reason, it's not a bad idea to keep an eye on the Dow, even though it's not typically something we pay too much attention to. It still matters. Speaking of matters, we talked last week. All the bulls out there regaining the 200. I don't know that that means anything if we're in a down move, and doesn't look like it meant anything. So we're going to get the lower that we'd expect coming in to start the week. It would seem we are on track for new sell-off lows. And at this stage, I wouldn't look at it as any more than a correction within the bull. But there's a lot of bearish cases I've seen made out there that make a lot of sense. So if you told me if we were to ultimately wake up one day and find ourselves in a bear market in the S&P and Nasdaq, it's not something I would think anyone should be surprised based on all the technical data that we're looking at here. A lot of reasons. We've talked at the beginning of the year, we talked about some of the extremes in the market. I think I saw a new one the other day when it comes to the retail stock holdings has reached the highest level in history. And typically, when the retail trader is all in, retail investor is all in, usually not a good thing. So, missed the mesh days. Yeah, they were simpler days, Greg. But I am super excited to kind of go it alone. And my partner, the ideas he has, it's for better, for bigger and better and more is great. So, more flexibility. I think it'll be more fun. But yeah, it'll be good. But yeah, those were some pretty good days again as well. But all right, so that's the market and stock stuff. Yeah, I mean, I was watching Tesla's taking a pretty good hit today. I was a little surprised. Be down 15, $16. I mean, I realize we're down 1%, but it's just, percent or so. We were down more than that on Friday and it held up pretty well. So, um, so whether or not there's some other stuff, factors, obviously remains to be seen. But yeah, stock wise, I tell you the one thing that not stock. I was talking about this morning. Um, so those of you that are not a part of my mentoring program that do decide to follow me over with your service, you'll get free access to this. I put a trade idea every morning for those members. So just an idea for them. So if they want to trade more, that they can. And so I go do all the hunting. This was the one from this morning. This is the XLC ETF, Communication Services. So one, this provides a trade setup, okay, which is the main reason I create those little videos for everybody. But you can see very, very well tested line here. So let's narrow it down a little bit, right? The 95. So there's a trade setup, but the main reason that I shared it today was because think about what the holdings are of this. So Meta is the biggest holding, Google or Alphabet, right? There's some big names in here. Netflix is in here. So if this is breaking down, telling us it is going lower, what might it be telling us about the future of, say, which, by the way, Netflix breaking 950 probably means lower. Of course, if the market, yeah, we called 1,000 last week. Should have made that trade. Whoever that was, it brought it up. I think it was only like $1 or less. I think it was less than that, but it made it. I never looked back after it. I don't think. But what does that mean about this? What does it mean about what's happening? I mean, Google looks terrible. Is Google already in a bear market? Yeah, let me double check that. What's the close there? Sure looks like our boy here just if we use closing prices, I think most people do. Yeah, I'll be darned. Went into bear market on Thursday. I guess so. It was in a bear market here. Let's pan out on this real quick. Yeah, you got to be targeting this area. But so anyway, so that watching that XLC, right? Yeah, it might be. It tells you, hey, you might want to start looking at short plays in all these guys, right? I think Meta has a pretty big. I saw it somewhere. Try to stay away from Meta because every time I trade it, I regret it. If I remember correctly. Oops. I saw something like this. Yeah, pretty darn close. Man, it looks like it already broke it, doesn't it? Something right around there. Without getting too detailed. Something in this area, right? And yeah, looks like that may have already broken down. It's a pretty big trend line there. I don't know how much these levels do or do not matter. I got to look back and see which ones we would keep and that we would think matter. I don't know that this one does. This was very short term. We'll get that out of the way. Clean some of this up. Looks like right here a little bit, but I would think this level matters more. Yeah, we'll leave it. Go through this guy up there, but yeah, it sure looks like Meta's already broken down. So, yeah. So, yeah, so keeping an eye on the XLC, I think would be see that guy break. So you can either trade. I'm gonna look at it as smart trades today and kind of see if it's maybe thinking about making that move or something. But yeah, so looking at that again, panning out here a little bit on Tesla. Looked like it's holding on pretty well. It looks like if you like the market, right, and you think it's coming back to this 250, that was the little mini breakout point here. Okay, so it's certainly looking like it's going to close or open slightly below it. But if you like the market here and you're like, nope, I think we're going to rally and this is the end of it, and the low was put in a couple weeks ago, then Tesla right at 250 would certainly make some sense. And remember, we talked about this in the right the kind of back to back hammers here. But look at last week. That's just as bad. So I don't know who's right, who's wrong here. I mean, this is obviously the bigger move leading into it, so one would probably tip the hand here. But let's not forget, ultimately, the market will dictate where most of this stuff goes. And then Lou gap down. Yep, yep. I mean, one would got to be targeting this 280 mark. This 280 mark goes back a ways. We'll probably look at things, and this came down, and I had some questions about closing out. It's easy. I always default back to when you come to Fridays, things get difficult. You know, um, because you could wait, and we made it to our target of 105. Made it perfectly, what we had forecast there. But it's also Friday, so if it doesn't get there, you're getting wiped out. We had the gain in shop, And if we get wiped out here after the rolls, we end up having a losing week. So, if you stay in, it turned out to be a great freaking week, right? But we took losing off the table. It's different if it's Thursday, it's different if it's Wednesday, but it took a little while for this to get there. And so when we had the opportunity just to close it out for no loss, knowing that we had Shop as a winner, the bigger thing for me was, as we joke with the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, choosing poorly, he chose wisely. Um, we elected to take the gain on this, thinking that, well, whatever we would have made extra if this thing continues to fall, we're going to make it on Reddit. And then, Reddit held on better. So we just, quote, chose poorly. Had we done the opposite, right? And elected to close Reddit or something and kept Shop, it would have been. But look, I kind of look at it as the bottom line is we profited. We had a good week, and yeah, I just don't. I don't like hanging on to Fridays and then end up getting middled or wiped out and all that. So if we can avoid it, if we have the win on the table, then on a Friday I'll tend to take it and come back and live to fight another day. So, but yeah, so look for lower market and such. Obviously, gold up again, going to the moon. Yeah. So as far as me and what's happening with T3 and kind of going, I'll talk about that throughout the individual calls. But these Marketcast calls aren't going to change for the next year. Each one of my 4 services, they're not changing over the next year. We'll do a 1-year kind of migration process. Yeah, I just kind of we got off the beaten path. I was just talking about my weekend for my birthday weekend, but yeah, I'm kind of going it alone and taking my services with me. So I was made an offer by a partner that wants to invest in growing, call it my own little AMTG, which already exists, as I'm sure you know and everybody else knows, but um, due to non-competes and things of that nature, it's kind of been stifled. So yeah, so like my services will have to be renamed. But yeah, anybody that chooses, which I would obviously love to have everybody come along with me, they will get free access to all the coaching stuff and all the extra calls and all the other things with it too. So um, and then those who want to stay with T3 can do that as well, and people will talk to Josh and Navino about that. But yeah, I'll talk more about it on the calls. But we kind of got off track when I was waiting for people to get on and all that stuff. But for the next year, nothing is, just to be clear, nothing is changing. So I don't really work for T3 starting last week. I work with T3. It's kind of like a partnership. They made commitments to all of you, and I obviously want to make sure that that they can honor that. So I'll be fulfilling all those subscriptions and contracts, and then those that want to stay with them will follow me over, and it'll be fun. But even following me over, we're going to stay on this whole setup, for the next year. But like I said, I'll talk more about it throughout the week and in more detail. But just kind of got off track this morning. But anyway, all right, I'm gonna let everybody run, and yeah, I'll see everybody next week. And for those of you on Smart Trades, I'll see you here in just a little bit.